Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pole Position Podcast. I'm F1 rider Henry Eccles.
I'm Alexandra White. I'm a contributor for Formula One for Sports News Blitz.
And I'm Nicole Powell, and I'm a content editor at Sports News Blitz.
And here we're here today to talk about Baku. We're here to preview all things Baku, and I guess the first place to start would be that McLaren are on the verge of winning the constructors. What do we make of that?
I mean, it's a massive lead they've got. I don't know that it's not a surprise, I think, for a lot of us that it's coming into this race and it's looking like they're going to win it anyway. I mean, they've got just such a huge lead, and I think it says a lot about the tenacity of the team and the sort of effort they've put in this year. We've seen it with, both Norris and Piastri dominating all the races.
Yeah, I mean, 617 points is crazy considering that we've only just hit the middle of the season, and the team that's second isn't even at 300 points. So it's quite the margin, and congrats to them because they did the best they could. They built the best car in the grid. They've outdone themselves. They've made us forget about Red Bull dominance, and both titles are theirs to take. It's just now the real question is who's going to take the driver's title, especially after this the Monza weekend where there's the whole pit stop drama.
I've waited a long time to talk to you guys about this because that was a sham. Like I get. We've spoken about papaya rules and we've spoken about pros and cons or whatever with how they go racing, but it's just the micromanagement of everything. But that is what micromanagement is. But it just feels Monza felt manipulated. It didn't feel. It just as much as that, like there is a fairness to what happened. Verstappen was laughing on the radio about it because he knows that these things happen in racing, and there's this really obtuse, very just ridiculous comparison that people made, but I think there's something in it where Norris crashed out or he had an engine failure the week before. McLaren don't then tell Piastri to pit and retire just because it's in the name of fairness. So it's just the whole thing really irked me, and I just hope that things like that don't happen again. And we can say at the end of the season whoever won that title won it because they deserved it, not because they were handed it or whatever.
I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head. I thought it was very interesting that Piastri's engineer brought up Hungary 2024. On the radio about how how Norris let him through, and it's the fact that they've held on to something from the season previous as a justification for racing in this season. To me, it's like you forget about what happened this season. You're focusing on each season as it comes, and whatever happened between the drivers and in team radios and team orders. That's for that season. It's not something that needs to be brought into the next one, and I think it's kind of embarrassing for McLaren that it feels like everyone's laughing at them, and I think the fact that Verstappen was laughing at them on the radio is not good. Like, you don't need other like we all know other drivers get involved in other team radios and they like making snide comments for something that wasn't I don't see how it was justified, because how is it Piastri's fault or something that Piastri has to sacrifice his race for because the engineers for Norris's pit stop made a mistake? That's not something that needs to be taken on by the driver. It's something that you go back to the team of engineers, you work it out that way. You don't sacrifice your other driver just in the name of fairness, because then it doesn't actually make it fair. You're not on an even level playing field, so why are you trying to make it when it's not happening?
Yeah, exactly. And I think them using Hungary from last year to justify this year is so crazy because this is a completely different story. This year, both drivers are really in the title fight. It's the both of them. It's not, there's Max Verstappen who's most likely going to win. Then we have Norris who's like way behind, but we're hoping something will happen. This is a whole different scenario. You have Piastri who's leading the championship, so naturally he should be priority. They don't have to say it out loud, but he's the one who's leading the championship first of all. But it was just so unfair because Piastri did nothing wrong. Norris's slow pit stop was no fault of his teammates. So for the team to just be like, can you just let him through? Even Piastri was like, what the heck is it? This is part of racing because it is part of racing. Slow pit stops happen. And when Verstappen lapped on the radio, was like, yep, that's exactly how we're also reacting because why are we making such a decision, especially at such a crucial time of the season? It's like, this is so, it's not fair. Even if they're saying it's all in the name of fairness, it's actually not fair. And it's a weird thing. And Toto Wolff also told them, you're making an off decision. And if there's someone who knows what it's like to manage two drivers in one team who are fighting for the title, it's Toto Wolff. So if he's telling you, I don't think you're doing a good thing here, probably should listen to him. He had to go through Hamilton and Rosberg for quite a while. So he just might be the guy to listen to. I think Zach Brown and Andrea Stella need to go have like a little session with Toto Wolff just for some lessons because they can't keep doing this. The papaya rules are just the only thing that are ruining this title fight because they just keep making weird decisions like that.
You say that I kind of wanted like a little bit more of a pushback from Piastri. I wanted him to sort of, I know we know him as the calm, cool, collected one who doesn't really have a lot to say or much of an aggressive nature, but I really wanted him to just really push back on it because it's not fair and it wasn't fair. And I think when you look at other incidents, I mean, Max Verstappen is notoriously one of the more aggressive drivers out there, and the fact that he wouldn't have even in previous seasons, he didn't even let, I think it was Sergio Perez through to get P6 to overtake him when it wasn't even like about switching positions over. I think that's the mark of a true driver who wants to win for them. But I think Piastri is still very much in the team mindset and about maximizing the team points rather than his own personal standings, which I think may come back to bite him in the future.
Absolutely. And I mean, Piastri's manager is Mark Webber, which sort of tells you everything you need to know about sort of what we're expecting, I think, from an apprentice of Mark Webber in those situations, but it wasn't to be. Just a reminder of sort of what McLaren need to do to actually win the constructors. I'm just reading it here because it's always a bit confusing. But regardless of where P2 Ferrari finish, if McLaren finish P1 and P2 or P1 and P3, they'll win the constructors. If they don't do that, they just need to beat Ferrari by 9 points and hope that Mercedes, that they don't lose 12 points to Mercedes and 33 points to Red Bull. So,
well, sounds like
I think that second part is pretty much irrelevant because I think they're going to probably get P1 or P2 or P3.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about Ferrari like ever. So
you're saying that as a Ferrari fan.
Yeah. And speaking of Ferrari, they had a decent home race, no podium, but the pace was kind of there. Hamilton was able to fight back from his 5-place grid penalty, and he had some good overtakes. Charles was fine, just didn't have the pace to fight Verstappen or the McLarens, but I think it was a decent result for a team that's been really struggling this season. What do you guys think of Ferrari's home race?
I don't know what it is about them in front of the home crowds. I don't know if it's like the Tifosi all gather and pray or do some sort of ritual, but it's like every time they're in front of a home crowd, it's like it's a whole different car that they're driving. We really saw them taking everything that they could from the car, and I think Hamilton to end up, what was it, P6? He ended up after getting a 5-grid place penalty. I think we're starting to see him again. The 7-time world champion that we all know and love, and we're starting to see more of that. But it's come too little too late, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he obviously had that grid penalty, but I think big thing for him really was qualifying, because that's where he's been behind. I don't think there's really been there hasn't been a lot of concern over his race pace. He's always, he's what's tended to happen is that he's had a poor qualifying and then he's done quite well to bring it back. So yeah, it wasn't it was by no means a perfect weekend, but it was definitely his best in terms of just all round performance, and that'll be big. And it being at Monza is obviously huge. I just want it to last, to be honest. I just want to, because I mean, I've said it before, there's been so many false dawns with Hamilton in the last couple of years, where you think, yeah, this is not even like he's back. It's just this is a nice little launching pad for him, and then the next week it's back to sort of Mercedes down in the dumps mode. So yeah, hopefully it lasts.
Fingers crossed. I mean, I don't. Well, the next race is Baku, and it's not a track he has won it since what was it, 2018? I don't remember the last time he won.
I can't remember.
I think it was like 2018 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was like forever ago, but it's also just a sort of fairly new track in terms of like F1, not like 5 years ago, but it's not that old. But I have confidence in him doing well at a street race. But just as long as he qualifies well, I think that's just the thing he really needs to keep working on, is qualify well, because also it's a street race. So you don't want to qualify all the way at the back, because you're gonna give yourself double the work. So yeah, hopefully Ferrari have enough pace for a good Saturday, and Lewis can find himself on Saturday in a good place on Saturday. And maybe if Ferrari actually want to make a point for next season, they should try and make it look difficult for McLaren to win the title this weekend. Actually, give us
a bit of a fight. Yeah.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how Ferrari fare this time round in Baku. I mean, it was back in 2019. I think Charles Leclerc set the fastest lap time for the Baku circuit. So it'll be interesting to see how this year's cars handles it, and how their team strategy is gonna play out. I don't think any of us are hopeful. I don't think any of us have been hopeful about Ferrari in a long, long time. But it'll just be interesting to see, considering that was a record that was set back in 2019 and hasn't been beat since.
Yep. And going from Hamilton to his former team Mercedes, still all a little bit up in the air, isn't it, with them?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's no contract renewals. Not really on the podium as much as Russell was at the start of the season. And there's Antonelli, who's having his ups and downs, and even Toto's a bit harsh. But I still believe that Antonelli is safe in Toto's hands, because I think Toto is not going to let go of this kid. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird. It's been a weird few months for Mercedes, especially on Antonelli's side, because he's just always beaching the car, always crashing. There's always something happening. But I think we all know that he's very capable of a lot. There's a reason he was brought in so soon. There's a reason he's been trusted this much. There's that raw talent that he has that's rare to find. So I think it's only a matter of time. But this is a street race, so he's going to need to be extra careful. Baku is tight, so he needs to watch himself. And Russell is going to be hoping for a podium at least, because he's really also in need of some hope for his contract situation. There's not many. We don't really have open seats. Cadillac have already sorted themselves out. So yeah, they'll be really hoping for a strong weekend for both their drivers. But it's not looking too good.
No, and I think it's. I think we've all got to still remember that Antonelli's a rookie. This is his first Formula One season. We've got to remember that he also skipped Formula 3, which provides like a bit of a sort of racing with stabilizers, I think, for a lot of drivers that start in F1. And the Mercedes car hasn't been the greatest. It's been very temperamental. And I think for a rookie, that's not something that they can easily get the best out of. I just think it's really sad for George Russell, who's, he's taking as much as he can out of this car. Granted, not the best he's done at the start of the season, but he's sitting, P4 in the driver standings. We've got McLaren at the top, and then Verstappen, and then George Russell. I think the fact that he's ahead of Ferrari is something that Toto Wolff needs to take into account, and the fact that he's let the contract negotiations go on this long is not fair to either driver, especially not to George Russell, who's so determined to make Mercedes his home. He wants to stay with the team. He wants to win with the team. He left Williams to come and join Mercedes. And I just think it's one of those unfair things, and I don't think it speaks well to Toto Wolff's style of management.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing all of those sort of whatever's happening with the contract and negotiations, whatever, we're seeing it on track now, I think. Because it's I think you could definitely correlate sort of, I think, the whole Verstappen, will he go, will he won't, to then this sort of not second half of the season, but little dip that Mercedes have had in recent times, and Antonelli as well. I said before that I think what's gone under the radar with the whole Verstappen-Russell situation at Mercedes is that Antonelli's probably taking a bit of a hit as well, because even though obviously the news is all about Russell, Toto did not. He never ruled out the idea of Verstappen and Russell together. So, I just think the whole season for Mercedes, it's been really backwards and really just bizarre, because you've had decent starts very good starts for Russell, and then for Antonelli it was all looking quite promising, and then Verstappen basically just lobs a grenade into the whole thing, and it sort of feels like it's falling apart. But yeah, as you've said, it's clear that Antonelli's got a lot of talent, and I'm sure they'll sort something out for Russell. I can't imagine that there's anywhere else for him to go, to be honest. An interesting tidbit actually from Nico Rosberg, I think on Sky's podcast, I think it was, he was just talking about what it's like to negotiate with Toto Wolff. He was just saying it's terrible, it's awful. That's what he says. Just that you just don't hear from the man, for large spades of time. And I think if that's what's going on, then there's no surprise that Russell's having a bit of a dip, and he's uncertain.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a weird situation for him, because when he joined the team, it seemed like he was the guy that's, he's going to carry the torch up to Lewis, even before Lewis had confirmed that he was leaving to Ferrari. So I think he's always been he's always felt safe in that environment under Toto Wolff. Even when he was at Williams, he knew, oh wait, I'm just pretty soon I'll be joining Mercedes. And he's always just had he's known he's okay, but now he's, for the first time in his F1 career, he's not too sure about what's going on. He's seeing the side of Toto Wolff that he probably hasn't seen ever. So he's going through it. And Max Verstappen is, probably not going to join them, but that threat was there and it was real for some time. And then there's Antonelli, who we're all seeing as someone who's also going to carry the torch and probably be the Mercedes star for some time. But now he's also struggling. So I think it's just a weird time. It's a very weird thing for Mercedes, because he kind of started the season well, and then it's just kind of been unraveling it so fast as the season has progressed. But Baku's probably not going to be good for them in terms of temperature, but hopefully one of them or both of them can qualify well and make something of that. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and just want to mention a few of the other rookies as well. They've been doing well. Isaac Hadjar, Gabriel Bortoleto, both scoring points at Monza. Hadjar obviously got that podium in the Netherlands. What do you guys make of those two?
I mean, I think for like the rumors about Isaac Hadjar being promoted to Red Bull, we talked about that a bit before we started recording, and we were all like, "Don't do it!
Don't do it."
Don't do it!
Because Isaac, please don't.
Just whatever you do, if you want to keep your Formula One career, don't do it." I think Isaac Hadjar has just proved time and time and time again why he should be Rookie of the Year. He has made such an impressive start to his debut, scoring points after points and just excellent drives. It's not even just the fact that about where he's starting or where he's finishing. Wherever he's ending up, he is fighting his way through the standings, and he's driving like a future world champion. I would say he's definitely one that we need to keep an eye out. Behrman, an interesting driver. I think he's 2 points away from being banned.
Yep. And we were saying before, the irony of that is that he was brought in by Haas originally last season after Kevin Magnussen got a ban at Baku. So it's all a little bit poetic. But
Kevin Magnussen on in that Haas.
Yeah, it's just it's been a messy season from Behrman, and I mentioned Bortoleto earlier. I mean, Alexandra, you said that Hadjar would be your Rookie of the Year. I would say Bortoleto's probably edging it now, just because he's been so consistent since Sauber, since Spain. Sorry,
Yeah.
Just. I'm so impressed by Bortoleto. He just doesn't drive like a rookie.
No,
to me.
I'll agree with you on that. He's not driving like it's his first Formula One season. He's driving like he's been here for a good couple of years. I'll concede that, but I think we've also got to look at the fact that Hadjar didn't even finish his first race of this season, and the fact that he's come this far, I think, is what makes him in my opinion Rookie of the Year, because he's faced all this sort of adversity. He's not just coasted through the season and had great starts and great finishes. He's really had to fight his way through the standings, and I think that the fact that he's able to handle that as a rookie, we've not really seen like any temper tantrums, we've not really seen any penalty incidents or anything like that. I think he's got a good level. He's had a really level season for his debut.
I think we have a really good set of rookies this season. I think they all have this talent that's obvious. It's just, well, with Antonelli, as much as he's very talented, he's the one who's driving out of all of them the best car, and that's an enormous amount of pressure, especially for someone his age. And then Behrman, I don't know, it's weird because I don't think he's chaotic, but he's just always getting like penalties and all that. So
it's always a crime.
Bortoleto and Hadjar, I think, are really talented, and they've really progressed steadily over the course of the season. Because I remember Bortoleto had a bit of a quiet start, not poor, but just a bit quiet, and he's just been, as Henry has said, he's been very consistent in Spain, and it's really nice to see Sauber actually have a lineup that's doing well for them as they get ready to become Audi. And as for Hadjar, man, if he goes to Red Bull next year, I don't know. I don't know. I just hope this is not the end of his career, because he's doing so well and he deserves to, have more and more chances to prove himself in this sport. And I don't know if that second Red Bull seat is the place for him to do that. But I guess time will tell. Do
you think he takes it, or do you think he actually goes, nah, I'm all right, just give me another year?
I think he'll stay even if they offer it.
But the thing is that an environment you can really say no in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's sort of very much like you have a gun held to your head and you're gonna be moving up to Red Bull no matter what you want.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say no to Helmut Marko.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
But then, but that begs the question though. Then what happens to Tsunoda? I mean, I've said before, I don't really see the need for Red Bull to change anything for 2026, just because I've explained before is that it's a completely clean slate, and not completely, but it'll be the car will be at a place where both drivers can have a sort of similar level of input if Red Bull allow them to. And coming through the Red Bull Academy, even though Max is on that completely different level of what he wants from a car, they have a coordinated coordinated sort of philosophy with their drivers. So I don't think Tsunoda's really been given a fair crack at the whip, and I think if they gave him at least the first half of 2026 and keep things as they are, maybe with I think they want to promote one of their drivers from the academy up to Racing Bulls, Lindblad, I think his name was, and that obviously will it probably impact Lawson, but yeah, I would keep things the same for at least the first half of 2026.
Yeah, I think one thing.
Hajar can't say no.
Yeah, he can't. But I think one thing Red Bull really need to do is learn how to be patient with their drivers, because it's ever since they've been in this sport. It's I don't like you. I know it's only been 1 month, but yeah, you're out. So
yeah, you're done.
You can't do that forever. It gets to a point. It's like, okay, maybe we need to change how we do things. You need to learn how to be patient. This is F1. There's only 20 seats. Well, next year there'll be more, but it's just you can't rush these kids, and they're not testing F1 cars as much as they used to, and it's a whole different era of F1. Things are not the way they used to be, and like even imagine if they had someone as young as Antonelli. I think if Antonelli was driving one of these Red Bulls, he'd not even just be demoted to Racing Bulls, he'd be demoted, like removed from the sport. So I think they just need to learn how to be patient, because they've only just promoted Yuki after seeing Lawson for 2 races, and they're like, yeah, no. And they just need to be patient, because it's also putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on all the drivers, apart from Max. Max is not going to get booted or anything. But everyone else in the Red Bull ecosystem, even ones in F3 and F2, they're like, oh, like, I'm really hoping I get my chance, but my chance might only last 1 race. So who's going to perform well under such pressure? I mean, there's people who are good under pressure, but you can't expect people to not crack. I don't think I'd do well if I was in that Red Bull environment. So
no, I feel like even if I was driving at insane rookie levels, I would not want to be poached by Red Bull or Racing Bulls, because the immediate need to perform at the highest level possible is just unfeasible for anyone, for any sort of driver, for anyone in the sport. These sort of drivers only come around once in a generation, and to expect every single driver that you put through the academy and you put through F3, F2 or anything like that, to expect them to be driving at the very top level is just, as you say, it's unfeasible. This constant of being like, okay, you've done 2 races, you've been really bad, you've not given us what we want, so you're done. It's like you're saying, Nicole, they need patience, and if they want to be back on top in the constructors, they need a team that's going to work well together. They need both drivers that are going to be able to work well together, and you've got to give the second driver a chance to fit in, to know what the car is capable of, to know what the team wants, and to know how the team dynamics work.
Yeah, and as long as they're not crashing into the wall every race weekend, it's fair. It's okay enough to give them patience.
Fine. It's all you need.
At least they're not costing you a ton of money, so just keep them. Be patient.
Yep, we've mentioned Lawson a little bit there. Speaking of him, he was involved in an incident with Carlos Sainz that has been since overturned. Was it a 10-second penalty that they gave to Sainz, or what was it that they gave to Sainz? 10. Anyway, it's been.
Yeah.
And so he had 2 penalty points also removed from his super license. He was giving a 10-second penalty for making contact with Liam Lawson's car. which was initially labelled as a complete joke by Sainz straight after the race. Don't know if you guys saw much of the post-race interviews. What did you think of the incident, and what did you think of both, I guess, Sainz's reaction and Lawson's reaction? Because we seem to see these two fighting it out quite a lot on track.
Yeah, they've been having a few moments. I thought it was ridiculous whenever I was watching it. I know it was a little while ago now, but I still can't really get over it. It was just, completely against any understanding I've had of those sorts of incidents. And yeah, it's in terms of those two going at it. It's not really where Sainz wants to be honest. Fighting with Liam Lawson. He wants to be a bit further up. It dawned on me actually after the break, just how far back he is compared to Albon. I'm a Sainz fan, and I've sort of been defending him throughout this season. But I had a look last week, and I just thought, oof, that's not ideal.
Whoa, P7 and P16.
P18. It's not good for
like,
Sainz.
It's something you have in the back of your mind, but when it hits you, it's like, yikes.
Yep.
Whoa. 70 points and 16. That is a very big gap between two people in the same car.
I also think that going back to the penalty, I mean, I think it was Antonelli that got a 10-second penalty for the Charles Leclerc incident, which to me that's the standard penalty for that. But the fact that a racing incident where it's very unclear who was actually in front and it is part of racing, that Sainz was then handled the same amount of penalty, I think that's where a lot of people's confusion was coming from, because it was such a harsh penalty for something that is just one of those things that happens in racing.
Yep.
Maybe just give them both penalties then.
Yeah, just cut them both
just
out.
Be done with it.
Put them in timeout.
But yeah, it impacts everyone obviously, because everyone else has got their eagle-eyed and they're looking at it, and not just then but after the race, and it just sends such a confused message to the drivers about what they can and can't do, and that ultimately impacts racing and the whole spectacle of it. So hopefully it's been a lesson. I'm not too hopeful of that, but hopefully there's been a lesson in there in terms of just sometimes letting them race and letting them make mistakes.
Yeah, but we know the FIA and consistency don't really go hand in hand. But maybe lessons were learned. Hopefully.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Let's talk about Aston Martin. They had a nightmare of a weekend. So, do you think they can turn things around in Baku after DNF and last place finish for Lance Stroll? Alonso DNF, Lance Stroll last place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Alonso wasn't doing too badly until his suspension decided to fall off. I think he's been performing quite well. He's been taking that Aston Martin to places where it probably doesn't have any right to be. It's classic Alonso, really. Stroll, we've documented sort of how we feel about Stroll in the past. Still not really sure what the future should look like for him. I know what the future will look like for him, because he'll inevitably be there in 2026. But yeah, I think Aston Martin just need a smooth end to this season, really, because it's been all over the place.
Yeah, I think Stroll probably needs to watch back was it 2018 Baku when he was on the podium? Oh, I used to be a huge Stroll fan, and I remember that race. I was like, oh, yeah, that's my guy. He did so well. He had a really good race. He was battling with Bottas in, what was it, Racing Point?
Yeah.
Was it? I think he was Racing Point at that point and at that time. So maybe he needs to watch that back and be like, well, I showed some potential then. Why can I not be the same now? It's crazy how much has changed because you look like a kid who was, yeah, as much as daddy's money is doing a lot for me, I actually have some talent to show for it. But it's
Yeah,
like
like
now
it was
it's just
still
not
like,
there.
yeah, okay, he's got his father's funding behind him, but he's still a driver that deserves to be there and deserves to be part of the F1 season. We all know how expensive Formula One is to get into for anyone. So the fact that he's got that talent, he had that talent, and a father behind him that can support him. I think we all expected big things from him, and the fact that it hasn't made a steady decline. I think it's just sort of gone straight down and exploded, and he's left picking up the pieces of his career.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I think he's the now. When it rains, is the only time I'm like, oh, we might see a good race from Stroll. But it's not a wet race. I'm like, yeah, he's not gonna do anything impressive, and he might piss off some drivers. But yeah,
Something will happen.
something will happen. Something always
Yeah.
happens.
Always happens.
Good
I
or
mean,
bad.
we're in Baku. I mean, there's been plenty of incidents at Baku over the years. Off the top of my head, you think of Ricardo and Verstappen crashing into each other. You think of Leclerc's "I am stupid" moment.
Yeah.
You think of
Hamilton and Button.
Vettel crashing into Hamilton under the safety car. Even last year, Perez and Sainz crashing into each other in the final laps. It's just Baku always seems to serve up something. I think even last year, I remember watching almost in disappointment that nothing happened, and then the Perez Sainz crash happened, and I was like,
Yeah, and we were sort of like,
I've got my
yes,
fix.
it happened.
And I think 2021, Verstappen's tires exploded or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and there's that iconic photo of him kicking his tire with the Experienced Azerbaijan in the background.
And then I think would that have been the same race? I can't quite remember, but it was whenever Hamilton didn't warm up his brakes properly during a restart, and then just went straight off track, and you had Mark Webber.
2021.
Mark Webber's scream in the background in one of the broadcasts. Baku. Hopefully it'll be and it's quite as entertaining as that. But lastly, what are our predictions? I'm going to be really boring and say McLaren are going to probably get a 1-2. Who's going to be third? Verstappen.
I think it all depends on qualifying. I think qualifying for this one's going to determine a lot of it, but it's one of those where there's loads of chances for overtaking. There's loads of long straights. DRS is going to work in a lot of drivers' favor, but I think it's pretty safe to say. I think at the very least it's going to be Oscar Piastri winning it. I would say personally, but yeah, McLaren 1-2. No contest.
I think Leclerc is going to have a really strong qualifying. And as long as Ferrari don't mess up the race strategy, would be on the podium in third. If not that, then Verstappen will be third. But I think Leclerc has a really good chance because he's done well at Baku before. And he's and I'm trying to be hopeful and think that Hamilton will also be there, but I've learned to manage my expectations in his first season on this team. But I think we get Leclerc as someone who's going to contend for pole in qualifying, and then be on the podium, probably third place on Sunday. But I think Oscar will win, but a McLaren 1-2. So Oscar P1, Lando P2, and either Max or Leclerc is P3.
Yeah. I would love to see Albon back up there, maybe a podium, but I think that's wishful thinking with the sort of aggressive driving that Verstappen's known for, and Piastri himself. He's also a brilliant overtaker. So it doesn't look like
him and Leclerc. Him and Leclerc had an amazing battle last year.
Amazing battle last race. So I think, yes, it'd be nice to see Albon up there, but I think if he's going to get up there, he needs to be a lot more aggressive driving and overtaking from him.
Yeah, and I think Hamilton will be in the fight for the podium if he can also have a good qualifying. I think Ferrari just need to have a good car as well and good strategy. Give us
strategy.
Yeah.
They're their own worst enemy. They self-sabotage.
Yeah. I have faith in Leclerc having a really strong qualifying, so I think we'll get the Ferraris in the mix this weekend. Fingers crossed. Wishful thinking.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so. But I think if I'm going to decide who my top three would be, it would be Piastri, Norris, and I think Verstappen, just based on the last couple of weeks. It seems like they've sort of turned things around a little bit.
My top three.
One interesting thing about Verstappen has been that sort of like it feels like he's been given a lot of even more control than maybe that what we first thought, because at Monza they did literally, the data told them to go one way and he just went, nope, we're going to do it this way, even though data, we know how much people in F1 love their data. He just decided, no, I'm going to do this, and it worked. So I think that's a sign of things to come towards the end of the season, and I think Red Bull have done well in Baku as well in the past, so I think he's probably got that third spot.
All right, I think that's it for today.
Yeah,
lovely chatting to you all.
Yep, it's been a pleasure, and thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.
Bye.